Billionaire found his high school lover begging with twins on the street. What happened next? On a cold December night in downtown Atlanta, rain coming down heavy. There, under the flickering light of a broken street lamp, sits a woman with two children pressed against her sides, all three of them soaked to the bone. And stepping out of a Bentley, straightening his Tom Ford suit, about to walk into a charity gala is Isaiah Bennett. He's got everything. Money, power, respect. The kind of success people write articles about. But something makes him stop. Something about that woman huddled against the brick wall makes his heart skip a beat. He moved closer, and when she finally lifts her head, when those eyes meet his entire world shatters into a million pieces. Because it's her. The only woman he ever truly loved. The girl who disappeared 12 years ago without a word, without a trace, without giving him the chance to understand why. And the two children clinging to her? They're looking at him with eyes that feel impossibly familiar. One of them, a little girl with braids coming loose, whispers something that makes time stop. Mama, is that him? Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. What you're about to hear is the kind of love that carves itself into bones. The kind that doesn't fade even when 12 years pass without a single word. The kind that turns a man who has everything into someone who realizes he's had nothing at all. At 31 years old, Isaiah Bennett is the founder of Bennett Tech Solutions, a software empire worth $3.7 billion. Forbes featured him. Presidents have shaken his hand. He's dated supermodels and women whose beauty could stop traffic. But none of them were Maya Johnson. That's the name that still wakes him up at 3 in the morning, drenched in sweat, heart pounding like he's running from something he can never escape. Tonight, standing in the rain, looking at her for the first time in over a decade, Isaiah Bennett will discover that some disappearances aren't mysteries. They're warnings. And some secrets, when they finally surface, don't bring closure. They bring devastation. The twins staring at him are 11 years old. Do the math. Think about what that means. Think about the questions tearing through Isaiah's thoughts as the rain pounds harder and Maya's lips tremble with words she can't quite force out. It all started in Benjamin E. Mays High School in Southwest Atlanta, 17 years ago. Isaiah Bennett wasn't always a billionaire. He was a kid from the West End, raised by his grandmother after his parents died in a car accident when he was 8. His grandmother, Dorothy Bennett, was a church woman through and through. Every Sunday at Mount Zion Baptist, twice on Wednesdays for Bible study, and she made sure Isaiah was right there beside her, suit pressed, shoes shined, learning about faith and perseverance and the power of prayer. She'd tell him, "Baby, God doesn't give you the people you want. He gives you the people you need. And when he puts someone in your path, you better pay attention." Isaiah paid attention the first day he saw Maya Johnson. She transferred in junior year, September of 2008. Walked into AP Calculus like she owned the room, head high, natural hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing this yellow sundress that seemed to capture every bit of light in that fluorescent-lit classroom. She sat 2 rows ahead of him, and he spent the entire period watching the way she tilted her head when she was thinking, the way her hand moved across the page when she took notes. It took him 3 weeks to work up the courage to talk to her. 3 weeks of watching her eat lunch alone, reading novels that looked too thick to be assigned for class, always slightly separate from everyone else. Finally, after a football game on a Friday night, he saw her walking home alone and jogged to catch up. "Hey, you're Maya, right? From calc class." She looked at him with these deep brown eyes that seemed to see right through his carefully rehearsed opening line. "I know who you are, Isaiah Bennett. You sit 3 rows back, and you tap your pencil exactly 7 times before you start every test." He'd laughed, surprised she'd noticed him at all. "You counted?" "I notice things," she said simply. Then after a pause, "You can walk me home if you want. But only if you tell me why you're really here." So he told her the truth. That he thought she was beautiful. That she seemed lonely. That he knew what lonely felt like and maybe they could be lonely together, which would make them not lonely at all. She smiled then just a little. "That's either the sweetest or the saddest thing anyone's ever said to me. Can it be both? I guess we'll find out." They did find out. Over the next 2 years they became inseparable. Isaiah would meet Maya before school at the corner of Ralph David Abernathy and Ashby, and they'd walk together talking about everything and nothing. She told him about her mother, who worked double shifts as a nurse at Grady Memorial and still barely made rent. About her absent father. About her dreams of becoming a writer, of telling stories that mattered, that helped people feel less alone in the world. He told her about his parents, about the rainy night they'd slid off I-285 and how sometimes he still heard his mother's laugh in his dreams. About the pressure he felt to be good enough, smart enough, successful enough to make his grandmother proud. About the scholarship applications he was filling out because college was the only way out of the cycle of poverty that trapped so many people in their neighborhood. They studied together at the Auburn Avenue Research Library, shared headphones on the bus. His grandmother adored Maya, would make extra Sunday dinner and insist she stay. "That girl's got a light in her," Dorothy would say. "Don't you let that light go out, Isaiah. You hear me?" "Yes, ma'am," he'd promise. By senior year, Isaiah knew. He knew with the kind of certainty that doesn't require logic or evidence. Maya Johnson was the person God had put in his path. The person he was meant to build a life with. His grandmother's words echoed in his mind constantly. When God gives you a blessing, you don't question it. You cherish it. So Isaiah started saving. Every dollar from his part-time job at the Kroger on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, every bit of birthday money, every penny. By April of their senior year, 3 months before graduation, he'd saved enough. He went to a small jewelry store in Little Five Points and bought a simple gold ring with a tiny diamond. Nothing fancy, but it was real and it was hers. He planned everything. The proposal would be at Piedmont Park at sunset, the Friday after graduation. He'd reserved a spot near the lake, bought a blanket for them to sit on, even practiced what he'd say. The Thursday before graduation, Isaiah told Maya he had something important to show her Friday evening. Could she meet him at the park at 7? She'd smiled, touched his face gently. "Of course. I'll be there. I promise." That was the last time Isaiah Bennett ever spoke to Maya Johnson. Friday came. He skipped the graduation parties, got to the park at 6:30, laid out the blanket, double-checked the ring box in his pocket approximately 500 times. 7 o'clock arrived. Then 7:15. 7:30. He called her phone. It went straight to voicemail. He waited until the park closed at 11, until security made him leave. He went to her apartment. No one answered. Saturday morning he went back. The landlord said they'd moved out, cleared the place overnight, didn't leave a forwarding address. He tried calling again. The number was disconnected. Maya's mother was gone. Maya was gone. No note. No explanation. No goodbye. For months, Isaiah searched. He contacted hospitals, police stations, checked social media obsessively. He drove past her old apartment every single day for a year, hoping to see her, hoping for any clue. His grandmother held him while he cried, prayed over him, reminded him that God's plans weren't always clear but they were always purposeful. "If God wants you together, you'll find each other again," she said. But they didn't. Years passed. Isaiah threw himself into college at Georgia Tech, then building his company, working 18-hour days, turning pain into productivity. He dated other women, good women, beautiful women, but none of them were Maya. None of them understood the way he thought, challenged him the way she had, made him feel truly seen. His grandmother passed away when Isaiah was 26, and he'd stood at her grave at historic Oakland Cemetery, wondering if Maya even knew, if she'd care, if she ever thought about the time she spent with them at all. Now here he was, 31 years old, a billionaire, standing in the rain, staring at the woman who'd shattered his heart, who was shivering in clothes that looked 3 sizes too big, with 2 children who couldn't stop crying. Isaiah's brain couldn't process what he was seeing. It kept short-circuiting, looping back to impossible questions. Maya was here, in Atlanta, looking like she'd been through hell. And those children, those twins with their dark skin and their scared eyes, pressed against her like she was the only solid thing in a world that wouldn't stop shaking. He found his voice, though it came out rough. "Maya?" She flinched at her name, pulled the children closer. The boy, maybe 11 years old, wearing a jacket that was too thin for December, stared at Isaiah with something between fear and desperate hope. The girl, identical features but with those braids, was crying silently. "Please," Maya whispered. "Just walk away. Pretend you didn't see us. Are you okay?" Isaiah's shock was turning into something sharper. "You're sitting in the rain with 2 kids, Maya. What happened to you?" "I can't explain. You have to go. You have to," her voice cracked. "He'll see you with us." "Who will see me?" Before Maya could answer, the little girl spoke up, her voice small but clear. "The bad man. He follows us everywhere." That's when Isaiah noticed what he'd missed initially. Maya wasn't just cold and wet. She was terrified. Her hands were shaking, and not from the temperature. She kept looking over her shoulder, scanning the street like she expected someone to materialize out of the shadows. "Get in my car," Isaiah said, making the decision without thinking. All of you. Right now. No, you don't understand. I understand that you're freezing and scared and those kids need somewhere warm. We'll figure out the rest later. He was already shrugging off his suit jacket, draping it over Maya's shoulders. It was soaked within seconds, but she grabbed it like a lifeline. Come on. The Bentley was parked at the curb, and his driver Marcus had already opened the back door, face carefully neutral but eyes full of questions. Isaiah bundled the twins in first, then helped Maya, whose legs seemed barely able to support her weight. She collapsed onto the leather seat, and the children immediately curled into her sides again. Where to, Mr. Bennett? Marcus asked. Isaiah climbed in, his mind racing. The penthouse. Take the long way, and Marcus? If anyone follows us, you lose them. Understand? Marcus, a former Marine who'd worked for Isaiah for 5 years, just nodded. Yes, sir. As the car pulled into traffic, Isaiah finally got a good look at Maya in the interior lights. What he saw made his chest tighten. This wasn't the girl he remembered. That Maya had been radiant, full of dreams and determination. This woman looked hollowed out, like life had taken everything and left only echoes. Her cheekbones were too sharp, her eyes sunken with exhaustion. There were scars on her hands he didn't remember. When's the last time you ate? He asked quietly. Maya didn't answer, just stared out the window watching the city lights blur past. But the little girl whispered, Yesterday. Mama gave us her sandwich. Jesus, Isaiah breathed. He leaned forward. Marcus, stop at the first open restaurant you see. 10 minutes later, they pulled up to a Waffle House off Northside Drive. Isaiah didn't care that he was wearing a $3,000 suit or that people were staring. He got the twins out of the car, felt their small hands grip his, and something shifted in his chest. Something dangerous and protective and terrifying. Inside, under the fluorescent lights, he ordered everything. Waffles, eggs, bacon, hash browns, toast, orange juice. The twins ate like they'd been starving, which they probably had been. Maya picked at her food, her eyes never leaving the windows, always watching. What are their names? Isaiah asked because he needed to call them something other than the kids. Maya's jaw tightened, but finally she answered. Jordan. And Jasmine. Jordan and Jasmine. The boy and the girl. They were beautiful children, even with their too thin frames and worn-out clothes. Jordan had this serious expression, like he'd been forced to grow up too fast. Jasmine kept sneaking glances at Isaiah, then looking away shyly when he smiled. Hi, Jordan. Hi, Jasmine, Isaiah said gently. I'm Isaiah. I'm an old friend of your mom's. Are you really a billionaire? Jordan asked suddenly, his voice challenging. Mama said you probably were. Isaiah blinked. You talked about me? Maya's face flushed. Jordan, eat your food. She did, Jasmine offered, more softly than her brother. She said you were smart and kind and that you deserved better then. She stopped abruptly, looking at her mother. Then what? Isaiah pressed. But Maya stood up abruptly, swaying slightly. I need the restroom. She walked away before Isaiah could respond, leaving him alone with the twins. They watched him warily, these children who'd learned too young not to trust easily. Your mom and I were friends a long time ago, Isaiah said carefully. I've been worried about her for 12 years. Can you tell me what's happening? Who's following you? Jordan and Jasmine exchanged glances, some silent sibling communication passing between them. Then Jordan leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. His name is Dominic. He says he owns us. He says we can never leave. Cold dread washed over Isaiah. What do you mean he owns you? Before Jordan could answer, Jasmine gasped, staring at the window. That's his car. Isaiah whipped around. A black SUV had pulled into the parking lot, tinted windows reflecting the Waffle House lights. His every instinct screamed danger. He threw cash on the table, more than enough to cover the bill, and grabbed the twins' hands. Marcus, start the car. Now. They were running across the parking lot when the SUV's door opened. A man stepped out, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing an expensive suit that didn't match the coldness in his eyes. He shouted something, but Isaiah didn't stop to listen. He shoved Jordan and Jasmine into the Bentley, turned back for Maya, who was running from the restaurant, and felt his blood turn to ice when the man grabbed her arm. Let her go. Isaiah was moving before he could think, putting himself between Maya and this stranger, this threat. Up close, the man reeked of cologne and something darker. This doesn't concern you, the man said, his voice smooth but laced with menace. Maya, get in the car. The children too. We're going home. I'm not going anywhere with you, Dominic, Maya said, but her voice shook. Dominic smiled, and it was the most disturbing thing Isaiah had ever seen. You don't have a choice. You signed papers, remember? You agreed. Screw your papers, Isaiah snapped. She's not going with you. None of them are. For a moment, Dominic's mask slipped, revealing something vicious underneath. Do you know who I am? Do you have any idea what I can do to you? Do you know who I am? Isaiah shot back. Because I can promise you whatever you think you can do, I can do worse. Touch her again and you'll find out exactly how much worse. They stared at each other, tension crackling like lightning about to strike. Then Dominic laughed, cold and calculating. This isn't over, he said. He looked at Maya, and his voice dropped to something almost gentle, which made it worse. You can run, baby. But I'll always find you. And those children? They're mine too. Don't forget that. He got back in his SUV and drove away, leaving them standing in the rain that had started again, harder now, pounding against the pavement like accusations. Maya collapsed against Isaiah, her whole body shaking. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have gotten involved. Too late, Isaiah said firmly. He helped her into the car, where the twins were crying, holding each other. Marcus, the penthouse. No stops. If anyone follows us, you call the police. As they drove through Atlanta's nighttime streets, past the glowing Bank of America Plaza and the Fox Theater and all the places that held memories of a different life, Isaiah looked at Maya. Really looked at her. And the question that had been burning in his mind since the moment he saw her finally came out. Are they mine, Maya? Are Jordan and Jasmine my children? The silence in the car was deafening. The twins stopped crying, looking between their mother and Isaiah with wide, hopeful eyes. And Maya, beautiful broken Maya, just closed her eyes and let tears stream down her face. I don't know how to answer that, she whispered. But that wasn't an answer. That was a door opening to something even more complicated, even more painful. And Isaiah, sitting there in his soaked suit with a woman he'd loved for half his life and 2 children who might be his, felt something inside him break and reshape into something he didn't recognize yet. Something that felt dangerously like hope. Before we continue, comment I'm still here if you're still watching. Remember to subscribe and hit the like button. Put yourself in Isaiah's position. You've just found the love of your life after 12 years, living on the streets with 2 children who might be yours. There's a dangerous man claiming ownership over them. Everything you thought you knew is crumbling. What would you do? How far would you go to protect them? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. Isaiah's penthouse occupied the top 2 floors of a building in Buckhead, floor-to-ceiling windows offering views of Atlanta that most people only saw in magazines. Is this heaven? Jasmine whispered. The question broke something in Isaiah's chest. He knelt down to her level, this little girl who should be worrying about homework and friends, not whether she'd found heaven. No, sweetheart. This is just a safe place. But you're welcome here for as long as you need. Maya hadn't said anything since they'd arrived. She stood near the window, arms wrapped around herself, staring out at the city like she was searching for threats in every shadow. Isaiah wanted to go to her, to demand answers until she explained 12 years of silence. But the twins needed attention first. He showed them to one of the guest rooms with its king-sized bed and attached bathroom bigger than most studio apartments. Jasmine touched everything carefully, like she was afraid it might disappear. Jordan remained guarded, protective, positioning himself between Isaiah and his sister in a way that made Isaiah's heart ache. Isaiah said, "Bathroom's through there. Take a shower, get warm. I'll order some clothes that actually fit." "Why are you helping us?" Jordan asked bluntly. "Nobody helps people for free." Isaiah looked at this serious boy, this child who'd learned cynicism before innocence and chose honesty. "Because your mother was my best friend once. Because you deserve better than what you've had. And because," he paused, weighing his next words, "because I think maybe I'm supposed to be in your life. I don't know how yet. But we'll figure it out." Jasmine smiled then, small and tentative. "Mama says everything happens for a reason. That God has a plan." "Your mama's right about that," Isaiah agreed, though his faith felt shakier than it had in years. "Now go get cleaned up. I'll check on you soon." He found Maya exactly where he'd left her, staring out the window. She'd taken off his ruined suit jacket, and he could see how the wet clothes clung to her too thin frame. She looked fragile in a way that terrified him. "You need dry clothes too," he said quietly. "I need to leave," Maya replied, her voice hollow. "Before I bring more trouble to your door." "You're not going anywhere." Isaiah moved closer, careful not to crowd her. "Talk to me, Maya. Explain what's happening. Who is Dominic? Why is he following you? And those kids?" His voice cracked. Are they mine? Maya turned to face him finally, and the devastation in her eyes hit him like a physical blow. Do you remember the last thing you said to me? The Thursday before graduation? I asked you to meet me at Piedmont Park. Said I had something important to show you. You were going to propose? Maya said softly. I knew. I saw the ring box that afternoon when you stopped by. It was sticking out of your backpack. Isaiah's breath caught. You knew and you ran anyway. I ran because I knew. Tears started falling again and she didn't bother wiping them away. Isaiah, I was young and terrified and so in love with you it hurt. But my life was complicated in ways you didn't understand. My mother wasn't just a nurse working double shifts. She was running from someone. My father. This was new information delivered like a bomb. I thought your father left when you were 6. That's what I told everyone. The truth was Messier. Maya wrapped her arms tighter around herself. My father, his name is Richard Johnson. He wasn't just some deadbeat dad. He was connected. Criminal connections. He went to prison when I was 6 for assault. My mother thought we were finally free. We changed our names, moved 5 times in 4 years, always looking over our shoulders. She took a shaking breath. Then, senior year, 2 weeks before graduation, he got out. Early release for good behavior. And he found us. He came to our apartment at midnight and Isaiah, the look in his eyes. He said we belonged to him. That we'd always belong to him. That if we tried to run again, he'd make sure we regretted it. Isaiah felt ice forming in his veins. What did you do? My mother had a plan. She'd been saving money, had contacts in Houston through a church group. We could disappear, start over with new identities. But we had to go immediately. That night. No goodbyes, no loose ends, nothing that could be traced. Maya's voice broke. I wanted to tell you. God, I wanted to so badly. But my mother said if I gave you any warning, you'd try to help. You'd get involved. And Richard would hurt you to get to me. The pieces were starting to fit together, creating a picture that made Isaiah want to break something. So you just left. Let me think you didn't care. I cared so much it broke me. Every day for 12 years, Isaiah. Every single day. Maya's tears were flowing freely now. We made it to Houston, got new IDs, tried to build a life. My mother worked at a different hospital. I took online classes, worked retail. For 3 years we thought we were safe. What happened 3 years in? Maya's face crumpled. I met Dominic. He was charming, successful, offered to help my mother with bills when she got sick. I was 20, stupid and so lonely. We started dating. 6 months later I found out I was pregnant. With twins. The world tilted. Isaiah grabbed the back of a chair to steady himself. Dominic is their father. Biologically, yes. Maya's voice turned bitter. But he's not their father in any way that matters. Because the moment I told him I was pregnant, everything changed. The charm disappeared. He became controlling, possessive. Said the babies were his property. When I tried to leave, he had papers drawn up, claiming I was mentally unstable. He had lawyers, money, connections. I was trapped. For 11 years? My mother died when the twins were 6 months old. Heart attack. After that, I had no one. Dominic wouldn't let me work, wouldn't let me leave the house without supervision. He never hit me, he was too smart for that, but the psychological control was constant. He'd threatened to take the children, to have me committed, to ruin any chance I had of escape. Maya's whole body was shaking now. I stayed because I thought I was protecting them. That if I just endured it, they'd be safe. What changed? Isaiah asked, though he could barely process everything she was saying. 2 months ago, Dominic started looking at Jasmine differently. The words came out in a rush, full of maternal rage and terror. She's 11. Still a baby. But he made a comment, something about how pretty she was getting, how much she looked like me at that age. And I knew. I knew with absolute certainty that if I stayed one more day, something unspeakable would happen. Isaiah felt nauseous. So you ran. We ran. Middle of the night, took only what we could carry. I had a little money saved, hidden where he'd never look. We made it to Atlanta because it's big enough to disappear in, and because, she looked at him with such raw honesty it hurt. Because some part of me hoped I might find you. That maybe, somehow you'd forgive me. There was so much to unpack, so many emotions competing for space in Isaiah's chest. Anger at the lost years. Grief for everything Maya had endured. Rage at the men who'd hurt her, controlled her, reduced her to running scared with 2 children. But underneath it all was something else, something that felt like his grandmother's voice whispering in his ear. This is why she was put in your path. This is the moment you were being prepared for. You thought I'd forgive you? Isaiah's voice came out rough. Maya, there's nothing to forgive. You were protecting yourself, your mother, those kids. You did what you had to do. I broke your heart. You saved my life. Because if you'd told me the truth that night, I would have tried to fight your father. I would have gotten myself hurt badly trying to protect you. He moved closer, carefully, like approaching something wounded. And yeah, it hurt. It hurt for years. But I'm standing here now, and you're standing here, and those children are safe in the next room. That's not an accident, Maya. That's providence. She looked at him with something like wonder. You still believe that? After everything? My grandmother taught me that faith isn't about understanding God's plan. It's about trusting that there is one even when nothing makes sense. Isaiah reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and when she didn't, he took her hand. It was ice cold and trembling. I don't know what happens next. But I know you're not doing this alone anymore. None of you are. Dominic won't stop, Maya whispered. He'll use the courts, claim I kidnapped them, destroy me legally. He has resources I can't fight. So do I. Isaiah squeezed her hand gently. And mine are bigger. We'll get you the best lawyers in Atlanta. We'll file for custody, get restraining orders, whatever it takes. You're not powerless anymore, Maya. Neither are those kids. She collapsed against him then, and he caught her, held her while she sobbed years of trauma into his chest. He could feel her ribs through her shirt, could smell the desperation and fear that had become part of her. But underneath it, impossibly, there was still a trace of the girl he'd loved. The one who'd read thick books and dreamed of telling stories and made him believe in forever. Why are you doing this? She asked when the tears finally subsided. After everything, why would you help me? Isaiah pulled back just enough to look at her face, to see the girl and the woman all at once. Because when I was 17, God put someone in my life who taught me what love looked like. And I'm not fool enough to think that was random. I lost you once because men with power decided they could control women's lives. I'm not losing you again. Something shifted in Maya's expression. Not quite hope, but maybe the possibility of hope. I can't promise I'm still the girl you remember. That girl is gone, Isaiah. What's left is, she gestured helplessly at herself, this. Broken pieces. Then we'll figure out how the pieces fit now, Isaiah said simply. Together. No running, no secrets, no more surviving alone. Okay. Before Maya could answer, there was a knock on the bedroom door. Jordan appeared, wearing one of Isaiah's old Georgia Tech t-shirts that hung to his knees. His expression was defiant, protective. Is everything okay? Jordan asked, looking between them. Everything's going to be, Isaiah promised. Come here, both of you. Jasmine appeared behind her brother, also swimming in oversized clothes, braids taken down so her hair formed a cloud around her face. They walked over slowly, these children who'd learned to be cautious, and Isaiah felt the full weight of the moment settle over him. I want you to know something, he said, kneeling so he was at their eye level. I can't change what happened before today. But from right now, right this moment, you're under my protection. All three of you. That means you're safe. You have a home here as long as you need it. You'll go to good schools, have clothes that fit, never wonder where your next meal is coming from. And Dominic? His voice hardened. He'll never hurt you again. I promise. Why? Jordan asked, still suspicious. Why do you care about us? It was the same question Maya had asked, and Isaiah gave the same answer his grandmother would have. Because God doesn't bring people into your life by accident. And I believe He brought you into mine for a reason. I don't know if that reason is forever or just for now. But while you're here, you're family. That's how my grandmother raised me, and that's how I choose to live. Jasmine started crying, but they were different tears than before. Relief tears. Hope tears. She threw her arms around Isaiah's neck, and he held this little girl who'd seen too much, survived too much, and somehow still believed in kindness. Jordan didn't hug him, but he nodded. A small gesture of trust that felt more precious than any business deal Isaiah had ever closed. That night, after he'd made sure all three of them were settled, Isaiah stood in his home office, staring at his phone. He had calls to make. His lawyer first. Then a private investigator to dig into everything about Dominic and Richard Johnson. Then his head of security to make sure the building was locked down tight. But before any of that, he did something he hadn't done in years. He pulled out the Bible his grandmother had given him when he'd graduated college, found the verse she'd marked in red, and read it out loud. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. He'd read that verse 1,000 times, but tonight it hit different. Because maybe, just maybe, the future God had planned involved a woman he'd loved at 17 and 2 children who needed him. Not in the way he'd imagined all those years ago, standing in Piedmont Park with a ring in his pocket, but in the way that mattered now. His phone buzzed. A text from his head of security. Cameras caught someone watching the building. Black SUV. Got the plates. Sending to you now. Isaiah's jaw tightened. So Dominic had already found them. That was fine. Let him watch. Let him try. Because Isaiah Bennett hadn't built a billion-dollar company by backing down from fights. And this wasn't just any fight. This is his new family. The next morning, Isaiah woke to the smell of coffee and something else. Laughter. Actual children's laughter, bright and unrestrained, echoing through his penthouse. He followed the sound to the kitchen and stopped in the doorway, frozen by the scene before him. Maya was making pancakes, her hair pulled back, wearing one of Isaiah's old hoodies that swallowed her whole. Jordan and Jasmine sat at the counter, giggling as she tried to flip a pancake and missed, sending it sliding across the stove. "You're terrible at this, Mama," Jasmine said through her laughter. "I'm out of practice," Maya defended, but she was smiling. Actually smiling. It transformed her face, brought back echoes of the girl Isaiah had known. "We haven't exactly had a proper kitchen in a while." "Let me," Isaiah said, moving into the kitchen. "I'm not great, but I can manage to keep the food on the stove." The twins turned to look at him, and in the morning light streaming through the windows, Isaiah saw what he'd missed in the darkness and chaos of the previous night. They had his grandmother's eyes. That same warm brown with flecks of gold when the light hit them right. The shape of their faces, the way Jordan's brow furrowed when he was thinking, the dimple in Jasmine's left cheek when she smiled. They looked like Bennett's. But that was impossible, wasn't it? Maya had said Dominic was their father. She'd been clear about that. Did everyone sleep okay? Isaiah asked, taking over the pancake duties while Maya stepped back, grateful and exhausted. "Best sleep in forever," Jasmine said. "The bed was so soft I thought I was floating." "I kept waking up," Jordan admitted quietly. "Kept thinking someone was going to come through the door." Isaiah's hands tightened on the spatula. "The building has 24-hour security. No one gets past the lobby without clearance. You're safe here, Jordan. I promise." The boy nodded but didn't look entirely convinced. Trust would take time. Isaiah understood that. They ate breakfast together and Isaiah made calls. His lawyer, Catherine Price, the best family attorney in Georgia, agreed to meet them that afternoon. His private investigator, a former FBI agent named Robert Chin, was already pulling records on both Dominic and Richard Johnson. His assistant was coordinating delivery of clothes, shoes, and necessities for Maya and the twins. The machinery of Isaiah's resources was grinding into motion, and for the first time in 12 years, he felt something like purpose beyond just building wealth. Around noon, Catherine arrived at the penthouse. She was a black woman in her 50s, carrying a leather briefcase that probably cost more than Maya's last 3 apartments combined. But when she looked at the twins, her expression softened. "You must be Jordan and Jasmine," she said warmly. "I'm Miss Catherine. I'm here to help your mama." They sat in Isaiah's formal living room, the twins playing on tablets Isaiah had ordered that morning while the adults talked in low voices. Maya explained everything again, the history with her father, meeting Dominic, the years of control, the escape. Catherine took notes, her face growing grimmer with each detail. "The papers Dominic had you sign," Catherine said. "Do you remember what they were?" "He said they were about making medical decisions for the children. In case something happened to me." Maya's hands twisted together. "I was so tired, so worn down. I just signed whatever he put in front of me." "Did you have a lawyer present?" Maya laughed bitterly. "I didn't have anything. No money of my own, no phone he didn't monitor, no friends he hadn't driven away. He isolated me completely." Catherine exchanged glances with Isaiah. "That works in our favor, actually. Any contracts signed under duress, without legal representation, can be challenged. Especially if we can prove a pattern of coercive control." "Dominic has money," Maya said. "He'll fight this with everything he has." "So will we," Isaiah interjected. "Whatever it costs, whatever it takes." Catherine pulled out more papers. "I need to ask something sensitive, Maya. I need the complete truth no matter how complicated. Who is the biological father of these children?" The room went silent. Jordan and Jasmine looked up from their tablets, suddenly alert to the shift in tone. Maya's face drained of color. "Dominic," she whispered. "I told you. Dominic is their father." "Are you certain?" Catherine pressed. "Because in custody cases, biological paternity matters. If there's any chance." "I'm certain," Maya said, but her voice shook. "I was with Dominic. I got pregnant. He's their father. Catherine studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Okay. Then we'll proceed on that basis. But Maya, if anything changes, if you remember details differently, you need to tell me immediately. Surprises in court can destroy cases. After Catherine left with promises to file emergency motions by Monday, Maya retreated to the guest room. Isaiah found her an hour later, sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. Talk to me, he said gently. I can't do this, Maya said. Catherine's right. Dominic will bury us in court. He'll paint me as unstable as a kidnapper. He'll take them and I'll never see them again. That's not going to happen. You can't promise that. Maya's composure finally cracked. You don't know him, Isaiah. You don't know what he's capable of. The connections he has. The things he's done. Then help me understand. Isaiah sat beside her, careful to maintain distance. Tell me everything. Because I can't fight what I don't know. So Maya told him. About the years in Houston, about how Dominic had presented himself as a successful real estate developer but was actually laundering money for criminal organizations. About how he'd used the twins as leverage, threatening that if Maya ever reported him, he'd make sure she disappeared and the children went into foster care. About the times he'd locked her in rooms for days, about the meals withheld as punishment, about the constant surveillance. And the worst part, Maya said, her voice breaking, is that the twins love him. Loved him. Past tense, I hope. But for years he was charming with them. Gifts, outings, playing the doting father in public. They didn't see the monster until recently. Until he started looking at Jasmine that way. Isaiah felt rage building in his chest, hot and righteous. We're going to bring him down, Maya. Legally, financially, every way possible. He'll retaliate. He'll come after you. Let him try. Isaiah's voice was steel. I didn't build what I have by being easy to break. How do you feel this moment? If you're Isaiah, to what extent will you go to protect the one you love? Do you really think Isaiah can win Dominic with the battle line already drawn? What is the secret Maya is holding back from Isaiah about the twins? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Comment part 2. If you're interested in what happened next, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss stories like this. Hit the like button. God bless you.